Yo, what is going on, everyone? This is Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast. And today, let's try and find the Lakers their next Mark Williams type of trade. And what I mean by that is last February, after the Luka Doncic trade, the Lakers kind of already showed us a blueprint of what they'd consider a needle moving marginal package. So, contrary to popular belief, the Lakers are not just holding on to all of their assets for a superstar like Giannis because they technically already traded away all of their assets if they hadn't rescinded the Mark Williams trade. So, yes, the Lakers have already technically made their all in trade last February when they traded for Mark Williams. To recap, the Lakers traded their 2031 unprotected first round pick. They traded Dalton Connect, who at the time was still looking like a good rookie and was a recent first round pick. And then they also traded a 2030 pick swap for a then 23-year-old Mark Williams, who still had a year and a half left on his rookie deal before he could enter into extension negotiations and also become a restricted free agent this upcoming 2026 offseason. Now, Mark Williams had never played more than 44 games, but the Lakers were still willing to take the chance on a former lotto pick simply because he was 23 years old and Luka Doncic also had Mark Williams on his list of big men that he wanted the Lakers to go over. But mainly, they traded for Mark Williams because he was only 23 years old and was considered on the same timeline as Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. Mark Williams was a player that the Lakers could move forward with into the post-LeBron future. That is why they were willing to quote unquote go all in with pretty much all of their remaining assets. Having said that, they obviously rescinded the trade and the Lakers still have their 2031 first unprotected. They still have their 2030 pick swap. And unfortunately, they still have Dalton Connect. Now, the question in today's episode is, if we took that same core package and tried to scour the league for other early 20-ish year old type recent lotto picks like Mark Williams, who could we get? And who are some of the best options? Today, I'll break down 6 packages with you guys for Mark Williams type of trades because I do think if the Lakers make a quote unquote big deal, it'll look something like Mark Williams, but not Mark Williams, if that makes any sense. But first, before we get into those options, if I could please ask you guys to like this video, comment down below, and most importantly, please hit subscribe. Also, if you want to support me in any small way financially, please consider becoming a member to the Lakers Legacy YouTube channel. You will get bi-weekly exclusive videos. I also plan to hold some private members-only trade deadline live streams coming up, so make sure you get in on that and join the LLP fam. And also, you're just helping support a brother out. All right, with that house cleaning out of the way, let's get into my 6 Mark Williams-like trade packages that I think the Lakers should inquire about. I don't necessarily think that these trade packages are realistic by any means, but if I were to pinpoint a young, early 20-year-old recent lotto pick that would be worth the Lakers 2031 first, Dalton Connect, and even the 2030 pick swap, these are some of the names that I'd be looking for. So number 1, let's take a look at a deal with the Washington Wizards. So in this scenario, our version of Mark Williams will be LAL Coulibaly, the Wizards' former lotto pick in the 2023 NBA draft. He's still got one more year left after this year. He's currently making $7.3 million. In this trade package, the Lakers would be trading Gabe Vincent's expiring, Dalton Connect, the 2031 first round pick unprotected, maybe the 2030 pick swap, and we'd be getting back LAL Coulibaly, who is the prize gem of this trade. And also, we would ask the Wizards to throw in Justin Champagnie, who has made some noise recently as this great R&D wing, rebounding and defense wing, who does all of the gritty, hustle, dirty work type stuff for his team. And yeah, he's had games where he's grabbed like 14 rebounds, 12 rebounds in limited minutes. Honestly, one of the best 6'6" rebounding guards / wings in the NBA. But yeah, Justin Champagnie would be a nice sweetener to this package. But mainly, we are doing this deal for LAL Coulibaly, the lanky Frenchman who has been a great perimeter defender for the Wizards and is 6'8", 6'9". He's very frail and he can't shoot threes. But I would do this type of deal to get Luka Doncic his wing defender of the future? Could Luka Doncic turn him into a souped up version of Derrick Jones Jr.? That's sort of what I'd be banking on. So Bilal Coulibaly, he has not turned into the well-rounded scorer that the Wizards would have hoped. He has been a great defender, and especially on the perimeter. But in terms of his three-point shooting, he's a career 30% three-point shooter. He only shot 28% from three last season, although he shot a higher volume of threes this season. He's been a bit injured. He's only averaging 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2.6 assists, which is pretty nice, 1.4 steals, which is what you're really focusing on with Bilal Coulibaly. 37% from the field, 24% from three, 76% from the stripe in 26.8 minutes per game. But I worry less about his offensive game right now, although that will definitely have to come around. I do like that he rebounds the ball fairly well. I like that he can pass and create off his own dribble as well. The three-point shooting will definitely need to come around. But I bring up Derrick Jones Jr. as a comparison because when Derrick Jones Jr. first came out of the league, he was not a good three-point shooter. He slowly progressed and developed in that area each and every year. And by the time he was with the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic, he turned himself into a very serviceable, average three-point shooter. And so if the Lakers can do that with Bilal Coulibaly, I think he's the type of high upside, high ceiling wing that the Lakers should get in on now. So yeah, this is my first Mark Williams type trade with the Washington Wizards. Would the Wizards want to trade Bilal Coulibaly? Who knows? But they have a lot of these sorts of wing archetypes. They have Trey Johnson. They have Kaishan George, Bub Carrington. They still have AJ Johnson, who I really like, who they traded for from the Bucks. They've got a lot of these type of rangy wings to develop, not to mention Alex Sarr. So would they want a 2031 first round pick in the future instead and reset some of their draft pick coffers? Would they want a flyer on Dalton Connect? I mean, they're not going to be doing this trade for Dalton Connect, but he would be a nice athletic shooting piece, even though they already have Trey Johnson, who's apparently like the 6'8" Steph Curry. Actually, I'm not sure how tall Trey Johnson is, but he is a pure shooter by the truest sense of the word. Anyways, again, let's not focus too much on whether the Wizards would do this. I'm just trying to identify young Mark Williams types of players with potential who, if the Lakers scoured the league and tried to inquire about them, maybe they could pry them away from their current team with their 2031 first round pick. And I would do that for a player like Bilal Coulibaly. All right, let's move on to my second trade package and let's talk about a deal with the New Orleans Pelicans. So in this trade package, our version of Mark Williams will be Mr. Yves Missi. So I actually broke down Yves Missi's player profile in a previous video. If you haven't checked that out yet, please check it out. But in this deal, the Lakers would be giving up the same package: Dalton Connect, 2031 first, 2030 pick swap, Gabe Vincent. And in return, we'd be getting back Yves Missi, who's on for this year and then one more year next year. He's only making $3.3 million this year. And we'd also be getting back two younger veterans who can help us out now in Jose Alvarado and Saddiq Bey. Saddiq Bey is a 6'8" bulky wing who can shoot threes. Jose Alvarado is the better version of Gabe Vincent. So this is a deal that kind of kills 2 or 3 birds with one stone, but mainly the Lakers would be getting back their explosive, high-flying defensive center of the future in Yves Missi, who is still only 21 years old. Now, a lot of people are going to say, but we already have Jackson Hayes and we already have DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton, we're not sure he's going to return to the Lakers. He's already 27 years old. I wouldn't necessarily peg him as our center of the future. Jackson Hayes has been good for the Lakers this season, but Yves Missi is miles better than him. On the defensive end of the floor, he's a better rebounder. He's a better shot blocker. They may have the same verticality and high-flying antics, but Yves Missi, the thing with Yves is that he is just such a high-motored player. And also, he's lanky AF, and he's just a freak of nature in all respects, from the physical tools to the raw athleticism, the forceful nature he has at the rim. I like everything that I've seen from Yves Missi, even though he's more of like a raw prospect. I liken him to like prime DeAndre Jordan, or in the future, even becoming a Daniel Gafford type player. And Daniel Gafford was a center who took a little bit of time in the NBA to really find his footing. And it took him being traded to a winning team for everyone to realize that this guy is a winning type of center. And I think Yves Missi could be that for the Lakers moving forward. And again, he's only 21 years old. We've got so much time with this guy to develop him. Last season, as a rookie, Yves Missi averaged 8 points, 9 rebounds, 1.3 blocks. He was the starting center for the New Orleans Pelicans in a pretty lost year without Zion Williamson. This year, it's another lost year for the Pelicans, but they did bring in prized rookie Derek Queen. Zion Williamson is healthier and playing in this early part of the season. So because of that, Yves Missi has been bumped to the bench and is only averaging 17 minutes. This year, he's averaging around 5 points, 5 rebounds, 1.1 assists, 1 block on 57% from the field. So the stats don't necessarily jump out of the page for you, but with Yves, it's all about looking at his game tape, seeing how fluidly he runs up and down the court, his defensive potential as a guy who can switch out onto the perimeter, extend his long, gangly arms, poke balls loose, and take it all the way down himself. An insane aerial lob threat that Luka Doncic could definitely vibe with. And again, most of all, I love Yves Missi for his motor. This dude just never stops running. This dude never stops hustling. This dude never stops fighting in the paint. And I think the Lakers could use more types of guys like that. And so would the Pelicans want a 2031 first round pick from the Lakers if they're already bumping Yves Missi down to the bench? And at times they're actually playing their other young center / forward, Carlo Matkovic, who kind of reminds me of a younger Maxi Kleber. If they're already only playing him 17 minutes and they plan to focus everything around Derek Queen moving forward and are more offensively inclined to play this 5-out style offense, and if they don't want to trade Trey Murphy, if they don't want to trade Herb Jones, well, do they want to trade Yves Missi? Because he's only on for one more year after this one, and then they'll have to make a decision on his future. Maybe they could reset their timeline that way. And also, in trading down for Derek Queen this past draft, they flippantly and stupidly gave away their unprotected 2026 first round pick to the Atlanta Hawks. And so they could use another makeup for that loss. They could use another unprotected first round pick. And with this 2031 first from the Lakers, they could make up for that little fumble. So again, I don't know how realistic this is. I don't know if the Pelicans would want to do this, but this is the type of deal that I would do in order for the Lakers to secure their explosive, athletic, defensive lob threat center of the future. The Mark Williams package plus Gabe Vincent's expiring for Yves Missi, and then the Lakers also get some flyers on guys who can help them now in Jose Alvarado and Sadiq Bey. All right, now let's move on to my third package and let's talk about a deal with the Houston Rockets. So in this package, our version of Mark Williams will be small forward / power forward Tari Eason. He is the prize jewel of this deal. In this package, we will be trading our typical Mark Williams deal, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, 2031 first. And in order to make this deal work, we are actually going to bring in the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know why I tried to make this realistic, but in any scenario where the Rockets trade Tari Eason, I believe they would be doing so to get off of his salary because they are an apron team. And I don't think they'd want to re-sign him to whatever new long-term deal he'd want. Tari Eason is on an expiring $5.6 million deal this year. And so if they were to get off of Tari Eason, I think they'd want something in return for him so that they don't just lose him for nothing in the offseason when he maybe signs like a bigger deal with another team. And so because of this, I think, well, one, in order to make the money work, I'm just bringing in the Nets here. So this is a 3-team deal between the Nets, Rockets, and Lakers. The Lakers would trade Gabe Vincent and Dalton Connect to the Nets. The Rockets would get Haywood Highsmith, who could actually help them out now. And they get the Lakers 2031 unprotected first and maybe the pick swap as well. In return, the Lakers would get talented shooting power forward Tari Eason, as well as Jae'Sean Tate, who's only making the minimum this year. I'm not sure if the Rockets would actually throw in Jae'Sean Tate since it seems like he's such an integral part to their team. But really, this is all about Tari Eason, the power forward, the small forward, power forward version of Mark Williams. This season, Tari Eason is averaging 12 points, 5.7 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.1 steals, on 49.7% from the field, 48.8% from three, knocking down like 2 threes a game. And he's doing all of this in just 23.7 minutes. And I really like Tari Eason as this lanky, versatile forward who can really shoot the ball. He also rebounds the ball very well, almost 6 rebounds in just 23 minutes. He's a solid and capable defender. And I feel like he could be the Lakers' next sort of wingier version of Rui Hachimura. He's sort of like a tweener forward, but he's athletic. He can shoot. He's got the size and the length. And this is the type of player that you'd want to surround Luka Doncic with. In a lot of ways, Tari Eason is maybe like a younger PJ Washington, and he's still only 24 years old. So the problem with Tari Eason is if the Lakers were to trade for him, they would have to know what they plan to re-sign him to on his next deal, because he is expiring. He is going to want a new multi-year deal. If they can get in on Tari Eason now, in a lot of ways, this sort of reminds me of the Rui Hachimura scenario. When the Lakers traded for an expiring Rui Hachimura from the Wizards, he was coming off of his rookie contract. Rui Hachimura ended up playing well for the Lakers, even in that first year with them, and balled out in the playoffs against the Grizzlies, et cetera, et cetera. And the Lakers ended up re-signing him to $18 million per year. Tari Eason will likely want that type of deal. Are the Lakers prepared to use some of their cap space to re-sign Tari Eason this offseason to about $20 million a year? I would personally be fine with that, especially because Tari Eason will have such a low cap hold that the Lakers could kind of just keep his cap hold and Austin Reeves' low cap hold and make all of their other signings using whatever cap space they have available. And then once they've made all of their signings, they could go over the cap to re-sign Austin Reeves, to re-sign Tari Eason. Their total bill after that will likely be very expensive, but I think if you're building out your core for the future and getting in a talented, versatile young forward in Tari Eason, who's right on the same timeline as Luka Doncic, I think it's very much worth it. Now, again, the biggest question here is why the Houston Rockets would do this, whether they'd want to do this at all. Honestly, it would be financially motivated because they just want to get something in return for Tari Eason. Maybe they could get Zaire Williams from the Nets instead of Haywood Highsmith, someone who could help them out now and someone who is still under contract next year because Zaire Williams is on for $6 million. So maybe amend this trade where instead of getting Haywood Highsmith from the Nets, they get Zaire Williams. But yeah, that's sort of how I think this deal would play out if it's remotely possible that the Rockets would be willing to trade Tari Eason, who seems like a pretty important player for them off the bench. But for the Lakers' sake, this is the type of tweener wing who can shoot and defend that you would want on your team next to Luka Doncic moving forward. All right, so that is my third Mark Williams type trade package. Before we get into my final three trade packages, let's first talk about the sponsor for today's episode, Underdog Fantasy. Football playoffs are here, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the gridiron action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick if your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at the Rams and Panthers game on Saturday, and I will go with Puka Nacua higher than 0.5 rush or reception touchdowns. And then on the other side, I'll go with Bryce Young higher than 188.5 passing yards. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code LEGACY to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code LEGACY. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. All right, let's pitch to a couple more sponsors, and when we return, let's get into my final three Mark Williams type trade packages. All right, so we are back. Let's get into my last three Mark Williams type of trade packages. and let's talk about a deal with the Indiana Pacers. In this deal, our version of Mark Williams will be none other than Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin is on an expiring contract. He will enter restricted free agency this upcoming summer. It doesn't sound like the Pacers want to re-sign him, which makes him the perfect candidate to trade for. This season, he is making $9 million. So for this trade, we will be sending out the same package, Dalton Connect, 2031 first, 2030 pick swap, or maybe we don't even need the pick swap, but we also have to include Maxi Kleber's expiring and Gabe Vincent's expiring. In return, we would be getting back the Pacers athletic shooting guard slash small forward, 6'5" Benedict Mathurin. And we would also be getting TJ McConnell in this deal, who is due $10 million over the next 3 years after this one. So in some respects, we're kind of doing the Pacers a favor by taking on McConnell's long-term salary. And even though McConnell is already like past 30, I think he's a player who would actually help the Lakers out a lot. He's the much better version of Gabe Vincent. People used to call him White Rondo because he can play make really well. He can get to his spots in the mid-range and pull up for these nice mid-range jump shots that he likes to hit. Plays tough defense, the ultimate professional. Yeah, I actually feel like TJ McConnell at $10 million, even though it is kind of a long-term deal, wouldn't be so bad. But honestly, again, the main prize jewel of this package would be for Benedict Mathurin, the explosive, athletic bucket of a wing slash shooting guard. This season, Benedict Mathurin is averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.7 steals, 42% from the field, 37% from 3, 87% from the line in 32 minutes. And this is the type of player who, yes, he's not like a lockdown defender by any means, but he has the physical tools, he has the athletic, explosive tools to one day become that. And right now, I actually think he's not a bad on-ball man-to-man defender. The thing with Benedict Mathurin is more keeping him engaged and locked into the off-ball team aspect side of things when it comes to defense, kind of in the same way as Rui Hachimura. But when it comes to like weak side shot blocks, being able to wall off his defender and shuffle his feet, I mean, this dude is so athletic that you can find ways to make him effective on the defensive end of the floor. But what you're really getting Benedict Mathurin for is his athleticism, his ability to just explode off of the ground, poster yam it on dudes, and just run up and down the court like a blur. The Lakers continue to need that type of tier 1 athlete that we can throw at other opposing teams. We just need that juice. We need that motor, and Benedict Mathurin has that, and he's a great on-ball primary creator. He can get his shots in the mid-range. I've mentioned it before, but if you squint hard enough, you will see some shades of Anthony Edwards in the way that Benedict Mathurin is able to navigate his way into the mid-range and pull up for these nice jump shots, contested jump shots. He gets to the line pretty well as well. And so, yeah, Benedict Mathurin would sort of be our, more offensively skewed scoring shooting guard slash small forward of the future. But because he's so athletic, I mean, that's the type of player that I would want to invest in moving forward. And that's the type of player that you can either, start next to Austin Reeves or bring him off the bench, or if for whatever reason negotiations with Austin Reeves go wrong, he could take over for Austin Reeves and be like the much more explosive version of him. But overall, I just like Benedict Mathurin because he is a talented, young, athletic player who can still grow. And then the Lakers also get a flyer on TJ McConnell, who could help them out immediately and definitely help them out in the playoffs with his veteran savviness and his ability to play on both ends of the floor. So yeah, I kind of like this Pacers deal. Some people will probably call it too rich because why are we trading a 2031 first round pick for the rights to sign Benedict Mathurin to $22 million? Obviously, the Lakers will need to sort all of this out. If Benedict Mathurin is asking for like $25 to $28 million, I probably wouldn't do it. But if you can get him for $20 to $24 million, keep him on a long-term deal, he's young enough that that's totally fine with me. $24 million is not that much more than the $15, $16 million full mid-level exception that, most under the first apron teams get nowadays. So yeah, there is my Benedict Mathurin Indiana Pacers trade package. Let's move on to number 4 and let's talk about a deal with the Detroit Pistons. In this scenario, our version of Mark Williams will be in the form of a wing player, and it's going to be Ron Holland II. Ron Holland is the former number 5 pick of the Detroit Pistons in the 2024 NBA draft, Dalton same draft. He's making $8.6 million this year and then is on again on a team option with the Pistons next season. As usual, Dalton Connect, 2031 first, 2030 pick swap, Gabe Vincent. Same deal. This time we're getting Ron Holland by himself because Ron Holland is your lanky, explosive, versatile wing defender of the future who plays with such good motor, physicality. He doesn't back down. He's got a nice fight and competitiveness to him, maybe too much. I've seen him get into some scrums with the Pistons in the past. I think he's the type of wing defender that could develop well with Luka Doncic because he can also serve as this rim running release valve, like a lob threat at the shooting guard / small forward position. This season with the Pistons off the bench, he's averaging 8 points, 4 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 1.4 steals, 41% from the field, 24.7% from three, 80% from the line in only 20 minutes per game. Now, the problem with Ron Holland, as it is the case with most of these, versatile, wingy, rangy defenders, is he can't shoot. Or at least right now, he can't shoot. I don't think his shot is broken by any means, but right now, he is definitely not a volume 3-point shooter. So that is definitely something that he will need to work on. Pretty much everything I said for Bilal Coulibaly applies to Ron Holland, except I think Ron Holland is the more, one-dimensional offensive player where I think Bilal can actually score better and play make better. But Ron Holland, he serves his purpose as a explosive finisher, a guy who rebounds the ball, who scraps, and most of all, he can just defend the opposing team's best perimeter ball handler. And you just hope that the 3-point shooting comes around because I don't think his shot is broken. He showed the ability to shoot in college, so it's going to be a work in progress. But honestly, when it comes to high upside athleticism and defensive capabilities, I think Ron Holland is the type of dog defender that you'd want next to Luka Doncic moving forward. And so I would inquire and see whether the Pistons would take the Lakers 2031 first round pick. Now, the Pistons are doing well in the Eastern Conference, and I'm not sure why they would make a deal like this. But again, this episode is not so much about whether a deal is realistic, what the trade logistics would be. It's more about identifying these young, recent lotto players who would be worth giving up the 2031 first round pick for, precisely because they fit Luka Doncic's timeline. So if you're tired of the Lakers going after just the superstar name, look at some of these younger prospects who might just be coming off of their rookie deals and see whether the Lakers can get in on them now, much in the same way they tried to get in on Mark Williams before the medical showed that he's not a good long-term fit. So Ron Holland is one of those players that I would trade the 2031 first round pick for, even though he is more of a raw prospect. Now, if you want to make sure that the Lakers really help themselves out, maybe you could ask the Pistons for a Karis LeVert or Javonte Green. But I don't think they're going to give up Javonte Green because he's been such an integral piece to them this season. And he's almost like the Eastern Conference version of Jordan Goodwin. So can we get Karis LeVert in this deal along with Ron Holland? I don't know if you want Karis LeVert. I just know that he's a player. He's a 6'7" rangy player that can also help the Lakers now. So anyways, that is my Mark Williams type trade with the Detroit Pistons. Now let's move on to my last and final Mark Williams type trade, and let's talk about a deal with the Utah Jazz. And in this scenario, this is going to shock some people because it might not make too much sense on the surface. But in this scenario, our version of Mark Williams is Walker Kessler. So Walker Kessler, as you all know, is injured for the rest of this season. He is on an expiring $4.8 million contract and is set to hit restricted free agency after not reaching extension negotiations with the Utah Jazz this offseason. In this package, the Lakers would be giving up the same Dalton Connect 2031 first package for Mark Williams. They will also tack on Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber's expiring. In return, they would get Walker Kessler, with the intentions of re-signing him to his next deal this summer, probably around the $22 to $24 million range, which is fine. They would get Walker Kessler, and then they would also ask for Kyle Anderson, who's making $9 million this year and next year, I believe. And they would also get former Laker Svi Mykhailiuk, who surprisingly has done a very solid and adequate job as a perimeter defender this year, outside of obviously providing the Jazz with shooting. And obviously, Svi Mykhailiuk, good size at 6'7", 6'8". Kyle Anderson, rangy forward who can play make for you, who can rebound, do all of the little connective things you'd want, sort of like a Jake LaRavia proxy. I think the Lakers could continue to use more guys like that, even though he obviously doesn't address our athleticism issues because his nickname is literally slow-mo. But Kyle Anderson, Svi Mykhailiuk are players who can help now. And then we already get in Walker Kessler in the building. We rehab him in South Bay. We rehab him in El Segundo. Yes, it would suck to not be able to use Walker Kessler for the rest of the season, but hey, we have a stopgap solution in DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes, right? But come summer, we already know, oh, Walker Kessler is here. We're going to re-sign him. We're going to use his low cap hold. He has an even lower cap hold than Austin Reeves this summer. We'll make all of our salary cap signings and then go over the cap after that to re-sign Austin Reeves and Walker Kessler. And there is your future core for the future. So this is why I would make this deal now, because I think this is the lowest value Walker Kessler will ever have because he's injured. The Utah Jazz know that. Now, the Utah Jazz have been doing well this season, but do they actually want to re-sign Walker Kessler to $22 million a year on a multi-year deal? Do the Lakers want to do that? I don't know. That's a question they'll have to ask themselves. But before Walker Kessler went down with his injury this season, in 5 games, he averaged 14 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.4 steals, 1.8 blocks, which is actually his lowest blocks per game average in his career. His prior 3 seasons, he was like 2.4 blocks per game and was consistently in the top 3 highest shot blockers in the league. So 14 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.4 steals, 1.8 blocks, 70% from the field. But get this, 75% from 3. He started actually knocking down 3-pointers this season. He had a game where he hit 3 3-pointers. So if you're telling me Walker Kessler can also be a spacing big of the future for you and be sort of this like prime Marc Gasol who's more athletic, that's a type of guy that I want the Lakers to get in on now, even though he's injured. Yes, it would suck in the short term. You're not enthused by getting Kyle Anderson and Svi Mykhailiuk, but this is more a future play to ensure that we already have Walker Kessler in the building come summer, and we know exactly what we're going to re-sign him to. So that's my thought process behind this. And obviously, when the Lakers traded for Mark Williams, he wasn't their first choice as a big man. They went to Detroit and asked for Jalen Duren. They went to the Atlanta Hawks and asked for Onyeka Okongwu. And as you all know, they've been going to the Utah Jazz to ask for Walker Kessler, but continually have been denied. But now that Walker Kessler is injured, now that he's expiring, and now that the Utah Jazz face this scenario where they have to pay him long term, is it finally time for the Walker Kessler trade to happen? If the Lakers are shrewd and smart, I think it is, but we shall see. Is the 2031 first unprotected enough for the Jazz to do this? I don't know. Maybe we could also unprotect the 2027 first round pick that we already owe them, which is top 4 protected. All I know is make it happen. Bring Walker Kessler in now. You could finagle some of the details of this deal. If the Lakers are giving up too much for an injured player, maybe they could get back like Taylor Hendricks in this deal. The Jazz's former 6'9" forward in the lottery 2 years ago. Maybe they could get Isaiah Collier. The Lakers could have their like backup bulky point guard of the future, and someone who also played with Bronny James at USC. Maybe they could get one of the Jazz's younger players in return as well, along with Walker Kessler. But honestly, if you just told me you're just getting Walker Kessler for the future, Kyle Anderson and Svi Mykhailiuk for the rest of this season, who can help you out now, I think I would be okay with that, knowing that I've secured my big of the future next to Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. Exciting whites all around. And so, that is my 6th and final Mark Williams type trade package. All right, so that'll do it for this video. What do you guys think about these trade packages, these Mark Williams type trade packages for young 20 to 23-year-old recent lotto picks? These realistically are the players that the Lakers are going to try and acquire if they did give up their 2031 first, not for a superstar. And I think they're going to try hard to recreate the Mark Williams trade, which is why I bring this whole episode up in the first place. Like, I don't think it's all about Giannis Antetokounmpo, although the closer and closer we get to this summer and the more the smoke rises from the Bucks end and Giannis getting more perturbed, I do think maybe the Lakers will be more inclined to save their assets. But I do think there is another approach here, and it's an approach that the Lakers have already showed us that they'd be willing to do. And that's to trade their first round pick for a recent lotto pick who has shown some flashes, but is still under 25, 24 years old, who can be a part of the Lakers' young core future next to Luka Doncic moving forward. If I had to pick one deal out of the 6 that I've proposed that I think would be remotely realistic, I'd probably say the Utah Jazz one is realistic because Walker Kessler is obviously injured. And I think the Benedict Mathurin one is pretty realistic too. Just because the Pacers have already shown their hand, I don't think they want to re-sign Benedict Mathurin. And some of you may say, well, there's a reason for that. He's just a scoring wing who can't play defense. I think he will eventually be able to play defense, and he has shown flashes of being able to play defense. And I'm banking on the talent, the scoring, and the explosiveness. So yeah, I would look at the Indiana Pacers and Jazz deals as somewhat realistic. The only question is, would the Lakers actually surrender a 2031 first for expiring players who they will have to re-sign this summer? Because the one difference in the Mark Williams trade and the Pacers Benedict Mathurin trade and the Walker Kessler Utah Jazz trade is the fact that when the Lakers traded for Mark Williams, he was still under contract for the remaining months of last season and this season as well. So they had a little bit more runway to work with the player, whereas we would literally be trading for the rights to re-sign Benedict Mathurin to $22 million this summer. We would be trading for the rights to re-sign Walker Kessler to $22 to $24 million this upcoming summer. Personally, for me, I'm okay with doing that. Whether the Lakers are, I'm not sure. But anyways, with all that said, once again, thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on these trade packages, which one you would do, and if I miss any young players that the Lakers should go out for, who would be worth the 2031 first round pick. Also, remember to please hit subscribe. And if you would like to help me out in any small way financially and receive exclusive perks like bi-weekly members-only videos and private live stream chats, then make sure to become a Lakers Legacy member. Thank you once again for your support. And with that said, this has been Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy podcast, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.